Welcome to Back Issue Classics, here inside the Pull Bag. TFG1Mike brings in a variety of hosts to cover many comics. We review stuff from DC, Marvel, IDW, Image, Zenescope, and more. So open your ears to hear our discussions on comics you might not have known about. It's all here inside the Pull Bag with Back Issue Classics.
Hello and welcome to the Pull Bag's Back Issue Classics. This is continuing on with Robyn Hood month. I am, of course, your host, TFG1Mike. Joining me is, once again, Steve Megatron. Hello.
Hello.
So, we've met Robyn Hood, we've had her origin story, we've had her fight with Red Riding Hood, and now she is a wanted fugitive. From Zenescope Entertainment, Robyn Hood, Volume 2, Wanted, written by Patrick Shand. The art is by, this time around, well, the art director is Anthony Spey. Trade design is done by Christopher Cody. Story also, Pat Shand wrote it, but the story is also come up with by Joe Bruscia, Raven Gregory, Ralph Tedesco, and Pat Shand. After you read this one, what was your initial... Well, I know we talked about Red Riding Hood last week, but what was your... Where are you so far in reading, as far as, like, where's your head at, whether you're leaning towards yay or nay on this stuff?
Well, I like it. The only thing I'm having weird thoughts on is the fact that it's constantly jumping in and out of that portal.
Okay.
That's the only thing that's throwing me. I mean, I am enjoying what I'm reading. It's just I wish it would stay in one realm or the other.
It will, as we go along. I'll tell you this right now, and I'll tell the listeners this right now. After this first arc ends with the final volume, Volume 3 Legend, they then go into the ongoing series, which is currently, well, ongoing. And I asked Patrick Shand, the writer, I said, are we ever going to go back to Mist? And he said, no, we're set in New York permanently from here on out. So starting with the ongoing series, which we'll get to much later, starting with that, they are just in one realm, to my knowledge, at least in this series. It depends on how the realm jumping is presented for me, that I don't quite mind it. I know next time around, next week's podcast, or the next podcast that we do for this, it's going to be the Age of Darkness one-shot, and in that's where they kind of realm jump all over the place between Mist and Earth, and yeah, I can kind of see that it's not, it's not easily followed. The way I've kind of looked at this is, hey, it's a boom tube. Only it's mystical and not technological. But anyway. So we got Chapter 1 here. As I already said, Patrick Shand is on writing. Artwork is done by Larry Watts. Colors by Nick Filardi. And letters by Jim Campbell. This one starts off with an old man telling some children a story about Robyn Hood and how she came to Bree, the kingdom of Bree, and saved it from King John. And as we go along, we are introduced to God, I'm going to screw her name up, Avella. We're also reintroduced to Marion, Maid Marion. And we also have more flashbacks to Robyn's past with her dad. Actually, no, this isn't a flashback. This is current, because she actually goes and sees her dad. The crazy thing for me is how they intertwine the old man telling the story and the scenes of Robyn and her dad. What did you think of that overall tone between the two different storytelling styles?
The one between being in Mist or with Robyn's dad?
Yeah, because in Mist you have the old man telling the story of how Robin Hood saved everybody, and on Earth you have Robin confronting her father. Do you feel that it plays well?
I see the parallel there. The one's speaking highly of her and one's calling her a douchebag, essentially.
Mhm.
So I get that, but both of
Yeah.
them get kind of what's coming to them anyway.
Sure.
Well, one that shouldn't and one that should, I should say.
Yes.
Not that
Because
I'm
it was.
saying that nice people should get their ass beat, because that's just totally wrong.
Yeah, no. Oh, yeah, it is very wrong. So between the Robin versus Red Riding Hood one shot and Volume 1 and now, Robin Hood eventually she becomes a wanted felon on Earth. She's a hero in Mist, but she's a wanted felon on Earth. She's going to kill her father, but she just thinks better of it, and says, oh, this isn't the way, because she's already killed 5 people to this point, 5 or 6. She killed Cal, supposedly, Cal Jr. She killed his dad, and then she killed his 2 friends, plus the sheriff of the police department on Earth. Yeah, so that's 5 people right there. So I like the parallel between Mist and Earth, where on one world she's a hero, on the other world she's a villain. It kind of really goes towards, hey, is Pat Shan writing this to be a Two-Face story? I mean, it's not like she's gonna go in and rob the Second City Bank on 2nd Street or something like that, but it's just one of those things where I'm seeing that the whole two-sided coin thing and whatever. So we get back to Mist, and we find out that Guy of Gisborne is still around, and he basically puts his foot down on the old man and all that. We then go back to Robin being chased by the cops. And this first part of this trade essentially ends with her almost being arrested. Well, it looks like she's going to get arrested, but we all know that's not going to last.
No. It never does.
No. As we continue on into Chapter 2, we find out that Maid Marian is experimenting with these Energon crystal? I don't know. They look like pink slivers of Energon from Generation
It's
1
all spark
Transformers.
fragments.
Yeah, it's
From Transformers Animated.
Yeah, it's somebody stripped RC of her paint job. So we got Maid Marian working with that because she is a mystic. And this is where we meet Avella along with Guy of Gisborne again and Prince John. They want the crystals so they can stop Robin. And somehow, as Robin's being taken away, thrown into the back of a police car, well, Scarlet shows up. Because that was the whole thing for the opening part of this chapter. Maid Marian was doing all this stuff with the crystals to find out a way to get Will to Robin to save her, and he does. What's cool, and I know you want it to be in one place or another. What I love about it is the page coming up here where Will goes to save Robin, and the portal closes and takes them. Well, no, he goes to open another portal to take them back to Mist, but it doesn't take them to Mist, it takes them to the beach. But at first I was like, oh, they're going to go back to Mist in a modern day police car. Yeah, Mist doesn't have that kind of thing. That would be really interesting to see. It's kind of like that whole Jetsons meet the Flintstones vibe.
Yeah.
So they have a date on the beach. We get back to
Her
Mist.
apartment or something?
No. This is back in Mist, with Avella and Gisborne, and oh yeah, they do go back to her apartment. Yeah,
Temporarily,
you're right.
for one
Temporarily,
page.
yeah. And Guy of Gisborne and Avella are basically fighting Friar Tuck, and Much. Much doesn't say a whole lot. He's the miller's son who doesn't talk. And I remember when I first read this that I was like, okay, so we've set all this up. We have Robin Hood and her merry men. We have Will Scarlet. We have Friar Tuck. We have this other character in Much, and we have all this stuff. So we have, well, and there was Little John too, but he died earlier. So you had Little John, Friar Tuck, and Will Scarlet, all from the original male version of Robin Hood. But for the most part, 2 out of those 3 end up dead. Because Guy of Gisborne does not let Friar Tuck live, which is kind of sad. What do you think of them starting off with the familiar characters from the franchise that we knew beforehand, and then slowly getting rid of them?
I'm kind of sad that they're getting killed off. Because I think it would be interesting to have them in the modern day.
Yeah. I'll tell you this now, because I don't think you've read this far ahead.
I've read this entire one, but I haven't read volume.
No. Yeah, well, no, I'm saying in the ongoing, at first, until she gets acclimated to it, seeing Maid Marian in the modern day, she has a lot of issues the first go around or so. What do you think of them working in the whole Nottingham angle by renaming the Kingdom of Bree to Nottingham?
I thought that was the name of the town in Robin Hood.
Oh, it is. But originally, in this continuity, it was called the Kingdom of Bree. And now they've renamed it Nottingham, which, I like it. I like the nod to the...
I like how it's all evolving, getting closer to the actual, story of it.
Yeah. Absolutely. So we get... we go back to... After Friar Tuck dies by Guy of Gisborne's blade, we go back to Robin and Will, and they're having a conversation. And she's asking him stuff like, why me? Why am I so important? And it's this whole Child of Darkness thing again. And he goes on to say that, he wanted her by his side in the fight and everything else. And it's just, I don't know. In this specific issue, in this specific trade, I don't mind the whole relationship or friendship or blossom or whatever you want to call it between Robin and Will. This whole scene here, though, just seems like it's more Twilight than Robin Hood. There's a lot more emo teen than anything else, and neither one of these characters are teenagers. They're, in their 20s and 30s or whatever. I don't know. It's just
I think that it's more or less it's translated to modern day.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how things are anyway nowadays. It's not necessarily Twilight, but it's kind of reaching that age gap from the time that the original Robin Hood was written to how things would be portrayed now.
Yeah. Yeah, see, I'm not... And maybe it's because they come from 2 very different worlds. Maybe that's what it is. That's why it's so awkward. Instead of what you're saying with the whole modern day thing, maybe it's because of the fact that they are from 2 extremely different... I remember a few times in this when Will is on Earth and he's talking in, olden talk, and people are like, "What? What'd you say?" So I think what it all boils down to is it's all lost in translation. So we then get back to Gisborne, Avella, and Marian, and she's like, "Where are Tuck and Much?" And she doesn't know. And Gisborne's like, well, why don't why spoil the surprise? And this second chapter ends with Avella showing up and basically ripping them back through the portal. I love the art in this. Larry Watts and Nick Filardi on art and colors. Oh, so bright. Even though it's a dark story, I love how bright all the colors are.
Yeah, that's one thing I've got to say. I have really enjoyed the art, even if at times I've been confused by some of the graphics that have, or not graphics, story elements of the time jumping.
Mm-hmm.
The imagery in this has just been great all the way through.
Yeah. Now, we have to talk about this because it should come up in part. I know at least two of our mutual friends just probably will never read this series because of the covers for the books. The covers are they're basically pinups, folks. I mean, the cover for the trade is Robyn standing on a rooftop in a midriff with her, not necessarily her breasts hanging halfway out, but there's cleavage there.
Well, let's put it this way: the covers are basically like, it's like anything you would actually see in any like modern comic for the most part. For the female characters, like this would be something like equivalent of like a Power Girl,
Yeah,
like type of cleavage shot.
Now I know these two friends, and I'm not going to call them out by name. They don't like that style, and that's fine. The way I explained it to them was, but hey, that's going to catch someone's eye, and the art in the inside, they're not all that scantily clad. I mean, you look at the chapter, or you look at the opening page of the third issue here, and it's Avella on top of Robyn, and yeah, she's got the midriff and everything else, but it's not like she's it's not like it's ripped off her. It's not like it's not like she's wearing assless chaps or anything. I mean, it's not as bad as some people might think it is. And the interior artwork, if you look at it, Robyn isn't even, at this point, she's not even wearing her normal uniform that we'll get to know her as. I mean, she's in a green jumpsuit. Or green sweats, or whatever you want to call it. But I still, between Larry Watts and Nick Filardi on colors, the art in this is just so well done. So issue 3 here, we open up and it's Avella knocking Robyn and Will back into mist, and they have an argument over what Avella is doing, and they need to find out what Gisborne is doing, and Gisborne, basically, this is setting up what's going to happen later. We go back to Guy of Gisborne on page 58 here. He says she hasn't killed Robyn because she was not told to, or because she was told not to. This is going to set up what happens to Avella later. I believe it's in the Age of Darkness one-shot, where someone is controlling her. That's not going to be a good thing.
No.
And where Avella has brought Will and Robyn is back to the place where she was born. Now, we've had this thread going throughout this series to this point of, oh, Robyn is the child of darkness. Oh, she was born in mist, but she was left on Earth. And now Avella has brought her back to the very spot where she was born. So that's pretty interesting. What do you think of the whole plan here to get Robyn to be this child of darkness and to lead the Dark Horde.
Well, being that she's in, I know I've read ahead, but being that she's kind of anti what anybody wants her to be, I didn't see her taking it. Although she did make it almost look like she was going to, and then she's like, "Well, F this."
Yeah. What I love is how they can show her memories and show her parents in like shrouded shadows. And the only thing that, to this point, that's kind of bugging me about the story and the art, and this is a nitpick on my part, I know, is her eye, her left eye, the one that got cut out when she got raped by Cal.
The golden eye.
Yeah, like, Larry Watts, Patrick Shan, somebody tell me, what the hell is the deal with the golden eye? Like, I know it's tied to her bow, where her bow is magicked, and, you know, she can, if she has her bow, she can essentially fire through anything. She doesn't have to, you know, I understand that part, but, like, right now, she's sitting here, you know, at the campfire talking with Will and explaining to him what's been happening and whatever else, and her eye is glowing, and I'm like, what's going on with the eye? Next thing you know, it's going to say, I know what
don't
I
even
need.
start. No DC jokes.
But those are the best kind. Because they are such a joke nowadays.
With Marvel.
I can't argue that point for or against. So Will and Robyn continue to have this conversation, and we go back to the palace, and Prince John basically is going to try to throw a coup against Guy of Gisborne, and that's not going to work because it's Prince John. It's just not. This kid is way too young to do anything. And we end on this chapter here with showing you Maid Marian, a monster, and another monster in some sort of transfixed magical transference state or whatever else. And at the bottom it says, next, the Sheriff of Nottingham revealed.
The Sheriff of Rottingham.
No. May he rest in peace, but no.
He's rotting.
You know, I watched that the other day, Men in Tights, and I'm like, oh my god, that Reebok joke is so old.
White man can't jump.
So chapter 4, there's a little bit of a change here. Pat Shan is on writing, Larry Watts is on art. Colors are done by Nick Flaherty and Ben Sawyer. Once again, the art. I love the background colors in contrast to the design of the characters. They don't go against each other. They flow with what the characters are doing as the comic progresses.
What's funny is most of the frames, again, like I stated before, are like a solid color for the most part with like a gradient to them, or very lightly detailed backgrounds so you can clearly see the character.
Right. Absolutely. Abso-friggin-lutely. So we start this one off with Guy of Gisborne basically backhanding the prince and saying, yeah, I'm the real ruler. You'll only rule as, you know, my figurehead and whatever else. And I'll tell you, this is a very different Prince John than what we're used to, folks. This is not Mr., you know, thuck his thumb and won his mommy and all that stuff. It's interesting, but I don't know. I like the direction they're going here. I like what Gisborne is doing to try to create this new sheriff. And we'll get to it here in a moment, but I was absolutely flabbergasted as to how and who and what the Sheriff of Nottingham was going to become. I almost thought at one point it was going to be Guy of Gisborne, because, I mean, up until this point, up until he backhands the prince, Guy of Gisborne has been the prince's right-hand person.
Oh, yeah.
And as we all know, usually the guy who's the right-hand person to Prince John is the sheriff for the most part. But Patrick Shan just threw a really, really cruel twist of fate our way, making the character that he makes the sheriff. So I said earlier that Tuck had died. Tuck did not die. Tuck is still alive.
You were thinking much, but
much later. Yeah,
well,
I was thinking. Yeah, much. Yeah.
Mush.
Yeah, Much got injured. See, I could have sworn
It looked like he died.
Yeah, but I also could have sworn that he stabbed Friar Tuck as well.
No, he pointed at his neck like,
yeah,
"Run, you little bastard, run!"
So they are about to make a move on the palace, and we run into this whole Dark Horde thing. We have this giant battle scene, which is absolutely gorgeous. These artists, oh man, this is one of the main reasons why, outside of the story, which is, in my personal opinion, superbly done, there really isn't anything with the story that I don't like. There's a few little nitpicks, but there's nothing that, to this point so far, there's nothing that makes me want to put this book down. I mean, it's just so good. What do you think of the giant battle scene here?
Between all the characters?
Yeah.
Of course I like battle.
Yeah, but you generally prefer it when there's giant robots involved.
Not necessarily. I like the arrow to the eye.
Yeah.
And then the kind of almost superhero-esque jumping who's next with Robyn diving into the horde of creatures, and then they're like, stop, it's her, we have to protect her, she's our master, and she's like, yeah, you're wrong.
Well, that continues on, and she has this giant flashback, and all her memories come flooding back to her. And I think the way Patrick Shan wrote this and did this was to... I know it's to progress the story, because she's meeting the Dark Horde, or members of the Dark Horde, or a sect of the Dark Horde at this point in time. But I honestly think they did this to catch everybody up, in case no one has read the first trade.
I think it's to fill her in.
That's true, too.
Because she has to know what the hell she's fighting for.
Yeah, I can see that. That's very true. So, we get to Guy of Gisborne. He's like, yeah, that's right. This is where you're meant to be. And like you were saying earlier, she has all these memories flooding back, and she has to make a choice. Is she going to fight with the Dark Horde or against them? And of course, it's going to be against them. And what I really love here is, as all of that is going on, we have this dark figure outlined in purple and pink, saying to Prince John, "What's wrong, short stuff? Huh? Oh, you're not supposed to be out unless Gisborne says, unless I say." And we don't know who this character is, but we can almost assume what it's going to be and mean.
Sure, Nottingham?
Yeah. So we have Gisborne and Robyn fighting, and she almost kills him. She should kill him, but the shadowy figure appears with Prince John. And this is where she says no, because the character says something to her. She says, no, it's not possible. And we find out that Cal Jr. has become the Sheriff of Nottingham. What do you think of that twist? Because I know you have this kind of clairvoyant thing of, oh, I saw that coming a mile away.
I didn't see it coming from a mile away, but I did see it coming because they were going to use him as the hey, guess what? This guy from your past that you didn't, ice is going to come back and get you.
Yeah.
So I figured that was what they were going to use him for. I mean, I didn't know they were going to use him for that character specifically, but I knew that they were going to bring his character in to be like the big bad against her, being that was her real world battle.
Absolutely. By Chapter 5 here, we have Ben Sawyer taking over color duty on full time here, so no more Nick Filardi colors, which kind of makes me sad because I really like when Nick Filardi colors stuff. He's an awesome colorist. So we start off the final part of the Wanted arc here. It says the day before the rebellion, and we have all this stuff with Robin and Gisborne going on. As it progresses, we see that things aren't really looking so good at this point because the sheriff is essentially taking over. The coolest thing here, and all comics do this, but it always really surprises me when they do this to draw your eye from story point to story point. If you look at the page where Avella is and Gisborne and John are in this background scene, to mimic a flashback, it's like all blue, whereas the current day is in regular colors, and you flip the page and it's all pink because of the sheriff. Robin's eye, that's gonna bug me. I need to tweet at Patrick Shannon and ask him about it. Why does it glow?
It's supposed to have powers.
Yeah.
Now that she's in this land.
Yeah, true.
She needs laser beams now. Cyclops eye. Cyclops eye.
All I can think of is freaking sharks with freaking laser beams attached to their heads. Ugh, Dr. Evil, get out of my head. So we have this whole fight with Robin and the Dark Horde, more Dark Horde characters. We have a fight between the sheriff and Gisborne. And then, as Robin defeats some of these characters, she goes and rescues Maid Marian. And I was so not expecting this, but Maid Marian essentially thanks her and then kisses her full in the mouth.
Not gonna lie, I saw that coming too.
It's not that I didn't see it coming, it was just one of those.
It was a shocker, I believe.
Yeah. Well, it was more of, okay, it was a shocker, yes, but it was more of the whole thing of, okay, that's where they're going with that character. Okay, I was wondering.
And then Robin's like, WTF?
Yeah. I was wondering how they were going to do the whole Robin and Maid Marian.
Maid Marian's like, here's some Skittles. Taste the rainbow.
Oh, God, you did not just do that. Oh, damn it. Oh, boy. So we go back outside.
But I just said, so leave me alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Moving on.
Yes. You go back outside, and Friar Tuck and Much are not doing that well in battle. At least he's not a drunk friar. At least not at this point in time.
Only when it's men in tights.
Yeah. Oh, boy. So the sheriff basically says, oh, well, if I can't hurt Robin directly, I'll just kill you, Will Scarlet. And that's essentially what he's going to do. That's how he's going to supposedly control Robin. Once again, Artwork, absolutely fantastic. Really digging this. And this is where Friar Tuck dies. And I wish they would have been able to keep some of these characters around at least until, I don't know, somewhere closer to where we are now. But, so Friar Tuck dies, and we have Much going to basically sacrifice himself to save Maid Marian and Robyn. And Marian basically says, "No, I'm staying. Get me a sword. I can fight." Sure you can. You couldn't even get yourself out of your own damn jail cell. Come on now. So, we've got the sheriff basically holding up Will Scarlet by his neck. We've got Marian ready to fight. And as this one slowly comes to a close, Robyn tries to kill the sheriff with a bow straight through the head. That didn't work at all because of how magically infused he is. He does eventually kill Will Scarlet. So essentially Robyn has lost everybody except for Maid Marian, really. She's lost Much, she's lost Tuck, she's lost Little John, and now she's lost Will Scarlet. And the sheriff is not exactly unhappy about this because she essentially took all of his friends and family, so he took all of hers. So, I guess, the old saying goes, an eye for an eye leaves everybody blind.
I think it's funny, though, that she keeps stabbing him in the head, and he's just got all these holes in his head with electricity coming out.
Yeah.
And then he gets up, and he's like, whop. He's like, I'm going to crush your head.
Yep. And somehow a portal is opened, and he basically kicks her through the portal, and he says, "Bye-bye now." And I don't know why, but the whole bye-bye now thing reminds me of the episode of The Big Bang Theory when Sheldon tries to steal the Indiana Jones film. Before he attempts this, Will Wheaton goes by, and because Sheldon had called him Jar Jar, he says, "Bye-bye now, we gonna go into the movie." And that's all I can think of when I see the sheriff saying, "Bye-bye now." Oh, God. So, let's see. This one ends on Robyn, once again, being in front of the police. And they say, "That's Robyn Loxley, the murderer." Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
And then the trade has a cover gallery from the various issues for number 1 to 8. Wanted, I think, is a great evolution of the story. Everything that Patrick Shannon has written in this has made sense. It has worked for the character development. I just absolutely love it. I really, really do. What about you? Final thoughts on Wanted, sir?
I'll give it a 4 out of 5.
Okay.
It had a lot of good art, a lot of good story, a lot of callbacks. Unfortunately, a lot of heroes died that I would have liked to have seen last longer than that.
One will be reborn at some point, but that's another story for another day.
It'll be Will Scarlet. I haven't even read it. I'm just guessing.
I know, but you completely missed the bad NBC joke.
Oh, Heroes Reborn. Da, da, da. Wah, wah.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, the sad thing is they brought 4 characters back from the original, or 5 back from the original show.
Quinto.
Nope.
Oh, good. Nope. He had more sense, thank God.
It makes sense with the ones that they brought in for the reasoning that they did. they didn't bring in all the huge characters that ate up the show. So, anyways, back to this.
Yeah. After reading this second trade, we are pretty much 11 issues into the overall series for Robin, if you count the Versus issue as one. Obviously, it is one, but it's more of a one-shot than tying, but it still ties into everything. So after 11 issues, what are you thinking overall? Is this still something you're interested in? Is this still something you're going to want to read, or...
It's something I'll probably still read.
Mm-hmm. Same thing with me. I'm pretty much invested in this. I mean, before we even started doing this spotlight here on the podcast, I basically marathon read this entire series to the current issue of the ongoing. I just could not put it down. For Wanted, I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5. There's just that nagging thing with her glowing eye. Like, it just... I know it's a nitpick, but it just doesn't... I don't know. It's just one of those things that just doesn't really... I need an explanation as to why it glows. Does the thing have magical powers? I mean, maybe I missed something. I know that it has magical powers when she's using her bow. Like, using her bow with her eye, it kind of basically... Even though she's holding the bow in her hand, she essentially can see through the bow to see the full target. I understand that, but why would it be glowing when she's sitting there in the campfire telling, band camp stories with Will Scarlet? That's what I don't understand. So, that's my overall for the Robyn Hood Wanted arc. You got anything you want to promote before we get out of here? Future of AGU or anything like that?
I'm going to be doing a multitude of shows in the near future, video and audio of Altered Geek. So look for those. I might have some that are more or less recorded on location while we're shooting next week during my boredom. I say that with the utmost love, only because I'm going to be standing there with a recording device strapped to my chest while another guy's shooting the video, and I'm standing in close proximity with a boom microphone over top. So I get the joys of editing all of this together. So I'm more so looking forward to getting done shooting the crap so I can sit and have fun with it.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's going to be a learning experience for you. So, folks, we are going to take a quick, small little break in the Robyn Hood coverage. On the same day that this goes out, we're also going to have a TMNT Back Issue Classics, where Joe Reed and I have already recorded our Mutanimals issues number 1 through 4 review. So you're going to have that in the same week as this. And then the 5th week of July, yeah, that's this month. I was thinking for some odd reason October. In the 5th week, we're going to wrap out the Robyn Hood month coverage with Age of Darkness one-shot and Volume 3 Legend. After that, in August, we will have a Gem and the Holograms comic episode. We will have Transformers Last Stand of the Wreckers review, Mars Attacks Popeye, and the brand new comic series from IDW Publishing, Transformers Robots in Disguise Animated issues number 1 and 2. Hopefully number 1 and 2. So that's coming up the end of July, beginning of August, or actually all of August, here in the Pull Bag. As I've already said in past Robyn Hood episodes, after Steve and I get done with Legend, we're going to kind of pace ourselves, and Robyn Hood will go into monthly or every other month rotation on the Pull Bag. It just depends on when he and I can get together and when we can actually review the comic. But I did want to take this time and spotlight the whole thing up to Legend and see where that goes. Where can the people interact with you online, sir?
On the Twitters at SCP21.
Follow me at TFG1Mike. Follow at Geekcast Radio Network. Check out geekcastradio.com. Unleash the geek in you. Make your great escape to comics. And we will catch you next time.
You've just heard the latest episode of the Pull Bag, the GCRN's comic review and discussion podcast. There are several ways to get in touch with us and leave feedback for the show. You can visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on the episode and all of our different podcasts. You can rate our show on iTunes. Be sure to leave us feedback. Call the voicemail line, 502-526-5821. Please remember to tell us the show you were leaving the message for, and your name. Become a fan of us on Facebook by searching Geekcast Radio Network. Send us an email feedback at geekcastradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at Geekcast Radio. So until next time, make your great escape into comics and unleash the geek in you.